What if losing your job turned out to be the greatest moment of your life? Maya Torres, a 26-year-old server in San Francisco, drowning in debt and broken dreams, bold enough to challenge the ruthless billionaire Julian Voss, only to be fired and humiliated. How does a waitress become the CEO of the very man who crushed her? All right, my dear viewers, prepare yourselves for a story that will leave you in awe. Take a moment to like this video and subscribe, only if you truly resonate with what I'm about to share, and leave a comment below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always thrilling to see you tuning in from every corner of the globe. Maya Torres moves with practiced grace between tables draped in silk at Lumiere, a Michelin-starred restaurant on the 40th floor of a San Francisco skyscraper. At 26, she carries a heavy heart, as if each step were on a fragile tightrope, ready to snap at any moment. The stacks of cancer treatment bills for her father crowd the kitchen counter in her cramped Oakland apartment, each red-inked figure a ruthless reminder of life's fragility. Her dream of becoming a graphic designer, once alive with inspired sketches, now gathers dust in a notebook hidden beneath her bed, silent, like the ambitions she's been forced to bury. In Lumiere's world of opulence, Maya is a ghost. She glides past powerful patrons, tech barons, venture capitalists, and socialites with a meticulously trained smile, a mask concealing her exhaustion after 12-hour shifts. Their conversations about multi-million-dollar deals or Napa Valley getaways echo like an alien language from a planet she could never reach. Every snapped finger calling for service, every meager tip left behind, feels like a small cut to her pride. She swallows it all, as she has 1,000 times before, nodding politely, her hands trembling slightly as she wipes a wine stain from the tablecloth. Yet inside, a small flame smolders, stoked by the fear of unpaid bills and the threat of eviction. Maya's only solace comes in rare moments of kindness. An elderly regular, with a gentle smile and simple questions about her day, always leaves a generous tip. A reminder that light still exists in this world. Those brief exchanges are a fragile support, keeping her from slipping into despair. But each shift feels like a battle, in which she must fight herself to keep her mask from cracking. Her heart aches with unspoken questions. Will there ever be a day when she lives for herself? Can her dreams rise again, or will they remain buried beneath the weight of reality? The pressure never lets her go. Each night when her aching feet carry her out of Lumiere, Maya feels smaller, as though she too is dissolving into the restaurant's glittering lights. Her Oakland apartment, with its thin walls and stale paint smell, is where she confronts the harsh truth. The bills on her kitchen counter seem taller every day, each envelope a challenge she can't meet. She sits there, in the dim glow of an old table lamp, staring at the dancing numbers. They are not just money. They are her father's remaining days, her once vibrant sketches, her hope fading. She once believed herself strong enough to endure anything, yet sometimes, in her quietest moments, she feels like a crystal glass that Lumiere's guests demand she cradle. Beautiful, but destined to shatter with a single misstep. Fear creeps into her dreams, whispering that she will never escape, that her life will forever be a cycle of endurance and sacrifice. Yet somewhere deep in her soul, a small spark still flickers, a longing to live as her true self, to stand up and let the world hear her voice. Maya does not know that in just a few hours, a single moment will change everything. A challenge will push her to the edge, forcing her to choose between bowing her head or standing tall, no matter the cost. And from the ashes of loss, a new path will emerge, leading her to a place she never dared to dream of. But right now, in that tiny apartment, she is simply a 26-year-old woman, clutching invisible wounds, waiting for a miracle she hardly dares to believe in. That evening at Lumiere, the air felt as heavy as a suddenly silenced symphony. At table 12, where Crystal's silverware gleamed under soft light, sat Julian Voss. The 35-year-old tech billionaire, once gracing Forbes's cover, embodied power and arrogance. As CEO of the vast cybersecurity empire Voss Tech, his razor-sharp mind and ruthless reputation preceded him. His presence made every server on the 40th floor of that San Francisco tower tiptoe upon thin ice. Every glance and gesture of his served as a warning, quickening their hearts. Maya Torres, the 26-year-old waitress, was assigned to his table. Though considered an honor by some, the task was a perilous test. Approaching with a silver tray trembling in her hands, Maya found Julian's cold gray eyes fixed instead on his phone, fingers scrolling through emails with the focus of a predator. A dismissive wave summoned mineral water as if she were an unfeeling object rather than a person. Suppressing the fire surging in her chest, Maya forced a professional smile. She turned and walked away lightly, though her heart felt as if pierced by an invisible blade. Julian's disdain only grew more cutting with each course. The elaborate foie gras was dismissed as trite. The $3,000 Pinot Noir, Lumiere's pride, was declared bland. His criticisms weren't aimed at the food so much as they were a power play, belittling those he deemed beneath him. Maya felt each barb like a dagger to the dignity she had protected through endless shifts. She stood there, grip tightening on her tray's edge, her smile as fragile as glass. Then came dessert, lavender panna cotta, delicate as a work of art. Julian stabbed at it dismissively, the spoon plunging in with contempt. His voice, cold and sharp, cleaved the hush of the dining room. The dish was a joke. So were the people who served it. As Maya collected the plate, her hands shaking, every pair of eyes turned toward her. She steadied her voice, asking after his enjoyment of the dessert. Yet inside, a storm raged. Julian laughed, a sound like a blade's edge, shredding the defenses she'd built over years. He mocked her father's illness, her buried dreams, her pathetic life. Each cruel word was a blow not only to her, but to every sacrifice she had embraced. Something inside Maya shattered. Years of swallowed pride, endured snaps and sneers, exploded into an unquenchable flame. She straightened, locking eyes with Julian, no longer invisible. Her voice, though low, carried a power that stilled the room. She told him he knew nothing of her, that his wealth did not make him superior, but rather revealed the weakness of a bully. Those words, sharp and liberating, broke her chains, but also spelled an end. Julian's face darkened from shock to fury. He pronounced she would never work in this city again, his tone as cold as a curse. Manager Mr. Langley rushed forward, pale and apologetic, then grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her from the floor, stammering that she was fired and must leave at once. Maya offered no resistance. She met Julian's gaze one last time, not with hatred, but with a measure of pity. He was no giant, merely an empty shell hiding behind power. Chin held high, she strode past curious onlookers, her heels echoing on the marble, and the glass doors of Lumiere slammed shut behind her. An end to one chapter, and the beginning of everything she'd never dared to dream. Maya Torres trudged through the filthy streets of the Tenderloin. Her worn shoes tapped against the grimy sidewalk. The adrenaline from her confrontation at Lumiere had evaporated, leaving a cold void in her chest. Fear slithered up her spine, wrapping her in a garment far too tight. Fired! The word echoed in her mind like a death knell. Julian Voss's threat, "You'll never work in this city again," was no idle boast. With the power of a billionaire behind it, it felt like prophecy, a sentence dangling over her future. She felt small, as if all of San Francisco had turned its back, slamming every door in her face. The BART ride back to Oakland slipped by in a haze. Neon lights and car horns, once comforting, now seemed alien, hostile. Maya gripped the strap of her battered tote, knuckles white. Inside her crumpled uniform, the remnants of a life shattered. She curled into a seat, eyes vacant among strangers lost in their own worlds. None knew her world had just collapsed. Her heart raced, not with hope, but with nameless dread, as if she were falling with nothing to hold on to. Her tiny Oakland apartment, where kitchen and bed were mere steps apart, now felt like a cage. She pushed open the door. The stench of old paint and rotting wood hit her. The stack of mail on the kitchen table, overdue notices, hospital bills, seemed higher than ever. Each envelope a merciless reminder of what she could not pay. She sank onto the threadbare sofa. Its springs creaked in protest. The apartment's deafening silence amplified her panic. She had stood up for her dignity, faced Julian to defend herself, but dignity didn't pay rent. Integrity couldn't buy her father's medicine. In that moment, her bold act felt like a costly mistake. Tears welled up silently at first, then broke into choked sobs. They were not just the pain of tonight. They were the release of every frustration, fear, and exhaustion accumulated over years of struggle. She cried for her father, battling illness in the hospital. She cried for her graphic design dreams, once brilliant but now buried. She cried for herself, once a girl who believed hard work alone could change her life. Each sob was a shard of hope, falling onto the cold wooden floor. She felt like a lost boat, drifting in a storm with no harbor in sight. In her despair, her hand instinctively reached into her apron pocket, searching for a tissue. Instead, her fingers brushed something hard and small. She pulled out a business card, thick cream-colored cardstock that spoke of luxury. A simple silver emblem, an intertwined E and V, sat at the top, beneath which read, "Edward Voss, personal line." The name Voss shocked her like a blade reopening wounds of memory. Was this some cruel joke? Then she remembered the elderly man dining alone at Lumiere, his eyes quietly observing her confrontation. He had nodded at her, a discreet yet meaningful gesture, as she departed the restaurant. He must have slipped the card into her pocket, a move she had not noticed in the midst of chaos. Maya held the card, her finger tracing its smooth surface. A slender, dangerous spark of hope ignited in her desperate darkness. Who was Edward Voss? Why had he left his personal number for her? She stared at the card, her mind spinning with suspicion and longing. It could be a doorway or a trap. Yet in that tiny apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills and shattered dreams, she felt she had nothing left to lose. The card, small yet weighty, was a faint light promising something she dared not believe. She clutched it tight, her heart racing, unaware that this moment would open a new path, one leading her out of the darkness she feared would consume her forever. Dear viewers, take a moment to relax or grab a glass of water and stay tuned for the unexpected turns ahead. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always wonderful to connect with folks from around the globe. Comment 1 if you enjoyed the story, so we can bring you more inspiring tales. Sitting in her cramped Oakland apartment, Maya stared at the business card, her mind spinning. The thick cream-colored cardstock, embossed with an intricate silver emblem, an intertwined E and V, felt like a door to a strange new world. The words Edward Voss, personal line, made her heart tighten, as if an invisible hand were choking her. Voss. The name conjured Julian's face, the man who had humiliated her and cast her into an abyss only hours before. Who was Edward? A relative of Julian's, or a cruel coincidence? Her finger traced the card's smooth surface. That sensation was at once a promise and a warning. In the dim gloom of her apartment, it glowed like a beacon, but could just as easily be a trap. The tiny Oakland flat, where she could touch kitchen and bed in a few steps, now felt like a prison holding shattered dreams. The smell of old paint and rotting wood mingled. The stack of hospital bills on the kitchen table loomed like silent ghosts, each envelope a reminder of what she could not pay. The oppressive quiet magnified her frantic thoughts. She had stood up to Julian to defend her dignity, yet the price had been too high. Job lost, reputation destroyed, a threat from a powerful millionaire that she would never work in San Francisco again. What once made her feel strong now seemed a foolish mistake. Dignity did not pay rent. Integrity did not buy her father's medicine. Yet this tiny, weighty card seemed to carry a meaning she could not yet grasp. Maya clenched the card, her knuckles white. She remembered the elderly man dining alone at Lumiere, his eyes quietly observing her confrontation with Julian. His discreet nod, an unspoken acknowledgement, was the only moment she felt not entirely alone in that storm. He must have slipped the card into her apron pocket, an act she hadn't noticed in the chaos. But why? Her mind tugged between suspicion and a dangerous spark of hope. Could this be a door to salvation, or a cruel twist of fate, plunging her into an even deeper abyss? She set the card down, yet her gaze never left it. In the apartment, the desk lamp's glow highlighted cracks in the wall, mirroring the fractures in her own heart. She thought of her father, battling illness in the hospital, of her once vibrant graphic design sketches now buried under her bed. She thought of herself, a young woman who had believed that hard work alone could change her life. Fear slithered up, wrapping her like an ill-fitting coat, whispering that she would never escape, that her life would remain a cycle of sacrifice and defeat. Yet somewhere deep within her, a small flame still burned, a longing to live true to herself. With trembling hands, Maya picked up her phone. She punched in the number, each tap of the keypad a battle of wills. Should she call or not call? Her heart pounded as though it might burst from her chest. This could be her chance, an escape from the darkness threatening to swallow her whole. But it could also be another mistake, plunging her into a game she had no strength to play. She drew in a shaky breath. Her finger hovered over the call button. In that moment, she felt poised on the brink, one side despair, the other something she'd hardly dared to dream. She pressed call, her breath catching. The phone rang, each tone a heartbeat of fate. 3 rings. Then, an older man's warm, slightly husky voice answered, not the icy tone of a secretary, but Edward Voss himself. Maya stammered her introduction, her voice unsteady. Edward replied with a note of joy that he'd hoped she'd call. He said he'd been impressed by her at Lumiere. Maya froze. Impressed? She'd caused a scene and lost her job. But Edward insisted she hadn't lost control. She'd found her voice, chosen dignity in a world that bows to money. Tears welled, not from pain, but from gratitude. He revealed himself as Julian's father, the founder of Vostech, and invited her to Voss Tower tomorrow morning, promising a proposal that could change her life. When the call ended, Maya sat silent, the business card still in hand, feeling as though a new flame had just been lit in her darkness. Maya Torres stood before Voss Tower, her heart pounding so fiercely it felt ready to burst from her chest. The glass and steel skyscraper loomed above her, a monument to corporate power, making her feel tiny, like a lost soul in a world not her own. She wore a simple black dress thrifted for a few dollars, scuffed but polished heels, and a borrowed blazer, each piece an attempt to mask her insecurity with a facade of confidence. Her hair was tied back, makeup minimal. She inhaled deeply, yet still felt like a phantom among the impeccably tailored suits around her. Doubt clawed at her mind. What was a fired waitress doing here? But Edward Voss's warm voice on the phone last night, his insistence that she possessed real strength, flickered like a small flame, urging her forward. At the reception desk, Eleanor, the silver-haired assistant, greeted her with a kindly smile, as if to soothe some of the storm raging within her. In the private elevator, Maya gripped the polished handrail so tightly her knuckles whitened. She wondered if she was stepping into an even greater mistake, or seizing an opportunity she'd never dared to dream of. Her heart wavered between hope and fear, like a tightrope walker on a high wire. When the elevator doors opened, she entered Edward's office, a warm, wood-paneled study lined with leather-bound books and the rich scent of polished oak, so different from the tower's cold lobby that she felt her shoulders relax, though the weight of expectation still pressed upon her. Edward Voss rose to greet her. Tall and lean, he wore a simple cashmere sweater that somehow made him both approachable and authoritative. His firm handshake lent her a glimmer of courage, even as it magnified her anxiety. He invited her to sit, his gaze earnest yet tinged with weariness, as though he saw the invisible wounds beneath her composed exterior. As he spoke of Vostech, the company he'd built on innovation and integrity, only to see his son Julian turn it into an empire of fear and greed, Maya felt an unexpected resonance. He spoke of his power to enact change as a major shareholder, and of the spark he saw in her to lead the firm forward. His words, like a shaft of light piercing fog, stirred both exhilaration and panic in her. To think that she, Maya, a single waitress, might one day steer that corporate titan? The idea seemed colossal and impossibly distant. When Edward announced that he wanted her to become CEO, Maya felt the blood drain from her body. Her mind spun, as if drawn into an endless void. She, a waitress with no degrees, at the helm of Vostech? It was so absurd she wanted to laugh, yet Edward's steadfast gaze held her in place. He believed in her, and that belief, like a life preserver, seeped into her heart, soothing the wounds inflicted by Julian's humiliation. A warmth spread through her, a newfound courage mingled with lingering fear. Edward informed her of the board meeting at 10 a.m., where he would reshape the company's history. Maya nodded, though inside she felt as though she were free-falling, uncertain where she would land. The boardroom, with its polished mahogany table and floor-to-ceiling glass walls, was an arena. As Maya entered alongside Edward, curious and skeptical eyes from the board pierced her like daggers. Julian, seated at the head of the table, froze, then curled his lips into a mocking smile, ridiculing her as if she were merely a coffee server. Maya's heart hammered, but she stood tall, forcing back the tremor in her hands. Edward, his voice calm and steady, announced Julian's removal for corrupting the company, and nominated Maya as his successor. The room fell into stunned silence. Maya felt every gaze upon her, as though they might crush her. Yet she stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly but her eyes unwavering. She spoke of a Voss Tech built on respect and innovation, admitted her lack of an MBA, yet affirmed her deep understanding of human value. Each word was a battle against her own fears and a declaration of worth. She was not merely speaking to the board. She was speaking to herself, declaring that she deserved this. Her simple, heartfelt speech, like a gust of wind, left the room silent. The board members, initially doubtful, were gradually won over. The vote was held, and when the unanimous results supported her, Maya felt an electric shock course through her. The fear remained, but now mixed with something new. Power, not to dominate, but to transform. She, a once anonymous waitress, was now CEO. In that moment, like a blazing flame, she lit the path ahead, even if she did not yet know where it would lead. Maya Torres didn't step into the opulent office Julian once occupied, with its modern art and massive desk flaunting power. Instead, she began her first day as CEO with fierce determination, her heart still pounding with uncertainty and expectation. Seated in a modest corner of Voss Tech's headquarters, she scrolled through her phone to call Mr. Langley, the manager at Lumiere. Her voice was calm but resolute as she announced a new policy. Management bonuses would now be tied to employee satisfaction. Any customer who mistreated staff would be permanently banned. Each word cut into the memory of that humiliating night, yet also declared that she would never allow anyone else to suffer as she had. Not stopping there, Maya booked a commercial flight to Ohio, where a Voss Tech factory faced closure under Julian's cost-cutting plan. Arriving on the shop floor, she wore neither a power suit nor high heels, but a simple windbreaker and jeans. She bypassed the supervisors and walked straight to the production line, standing among weary yet hopeful workers. She listened, truly listened, to their concerns about outdated equipment, inefficient processes, and their small dreams for their families. Each story became a tile in the mosaic she was determined to remake. She felt her own heartbeat synchronize with theirs, as if her own pains, hospital bills, buried ambitions, had found an echo in these strangers. In the factory's humble break room, Maya addressed hundreds of workers. Her eyes shone with newfound conviction. She announced that the plant would not close. Instead, Voss Tech would invest in new technologies and training programs, funded by redirecting the executive bonus pool. Her words, simple yet unwavering, ignited a roar of applause. Maya felt warmth spread through her, not from the title of CEO, but from the sense of connection, of trust. Yet deep down, she knew the real challenge was only just beginning. The backlash came fast, as a storm. Directors loyal to Julian, steeped in a culture of fear, began to sabotage her. Critical data vanished. The financial press sneered with headlines mocking the Waitress CEO. Each attack reminded her she was an outsider in this world. Doubt crept back, whispering she wasn't strong enough, that she would fail. But Maya refused to respond with anger. She chose transparency. In an all-hands broadcast, she stood before the camera, her voice trembling yet resolute, and declared that Voss Tech would not chase profit alone, but build something to be proud of, a company that put people above money. As she spoke, her fear melted away, replaced by a new power, as if she were fighting not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been dismissed. She moved quickly, raising the company's minimum wage, establishing a charity fund from corporate profits, and launching the green cybersecurity initiative Julian had shelved. When a rival made a hostile takeover bid, seizing on the company's internal turmoil, Maya faced her greatest test. Yet the Ohio factory workers she'd once sat with rallied behind her. They launched a media campaign telling the world how she had saved their plant. Their support, like a blazing torch, enabled her to defeat the threat and pushed Vostek's stock to record highs. Still humble, Maya ate lunch in the cafeteria, chatting with everyone from the security guard to the department heads. She turned her darkest moment, being humiliated at Lumiere, into the spark that changed the world, proving that true power lies in courage and respect. Maya's journey is proof. Your circumstances do not define you. Your principles and purpose do. It teaches us that one act of bravery can illuminate an empire, and that human value transcends any title. But her story is far from over. The road ahead remains full of challenges, and she will need every shred of her fire to carry on. If Maya's story inspired you, please subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and share with your friends and family in the US. We'd love to know where and when you're watching this video.